Between Europe and Asia, Turkey is a land of enchantment and wonder. It is a country where the past and present merge seamlessly to create a tapestry of history and culture. The rugged coastline, adorned with crystal clear waters, stretches far and wide, inviting adventurers and explorers to discover its hidden treasures. But the year 2023 has not been a blessing for the country. A massive earthquake hit the country with a lot of devastation, destruction and death. Stay tuned till the end as we're going to cover the whole tragedy with the aftermath. The vibrant cities brimming with life, bustle and energy and excitement, where the scent of spices and sizzling meats fill the air, and the sound of music and laughter echo through the winding streets. But now the streets are echoing with people's loud crying, worry and loss due to the devastating impact of the recent earthquake. It's a terrifying truth that we all know too well. An earthquake can be an absolute nightmare. It's an unforgiving force of nature that can hit without warning, bringing an entire country to its knees in a matter of seconds. And once it hits, there's nothing we can do but brace ourselves and hope for the best. The sheer power of an earthquake is something that's hard to imagine until you've experienced it firsthand. It's like the ground beneath you is suddenly alive and angry, thrashing and convulsing with a rage that's impossible to control. The violent shaking can be so intense that it feels like the world is about to split apart at the seams. Buildings crumble like sandcastles, roads split open like a wound, and homes are swallowed whole by the Earth's insatiable hunger. The devastation is not limited to physical structures alone, as the seismic waves can shatter the very fabric of a community's soul. Families are torn apart, lives are lost, and the scars left behind can take years to heal. In the aftermath of an earthquake, a country is left reeling, struggling to pick up the pieces of its shattered existence and begin the arduous journey towards rebuilding. And Turkey saw nothing else. A powerful earthquake with magnitudes of 7.8 struck Turkey and Syria, causing widespread devastation and irreparable damage to the affected communities. This seismic event was the strongest to hit the region in almost a century. The immense scale of the destruction wrought by these earthquakes has irrevocably transformed the lives of millions of individuals in Turkey. The far-reaching shockwaves, which were felt hundreds of miles away from the epicenters, have caused extensive damage to infrastructure, including buildings, roads, and other critical facilities, leaving many people homeless and without access to essential services. The human toll of these calamitous events is still unfolding, with many people reported missing or injured. The long-term psychological and emotional impacts on the affected communities are yet to be fully understood. The earthquake that occurred in Turkey with a moment magnitude of 7.8 was the second largest earthquake ever recorded in the country, with the largest being in North Anatolia earthquake of 1668. This earthquake was the strongest to have struck Turkey since the Erzincan earthquake of 1939, which had a similar magnitude. The event was also one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded in the Levant region, with impacts felt in several countries including Egypt, Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, Cyprus, and Turkey's Black Sea coast. Following the initial earthquake, the region experienced approximately 10,000 aftershocks within the 3 weeks that followed. The seismic pattern observed in this event was due to shallow strike-slip faulting, which caused the fault to move horizontally along its length. Strike-slip faults are characterized by their relative horizontal movement between the two blocks of rock on either side of the fault. The shallow nature of this fault suggests that it occurred within the uppermost layer of the Earth's crust. Understanding the seismic patterns and the geological processes involved in such events can help in the development of effective strategies to mitigate the risks and impact of future earthquakes in the region. According to the World Health Organization, the earthquake has affected more than 23 million individuals, causing the death of more than 12,000 people, and many others are still unaccounted for or in critical condition. The earthquake's impact has been severe, resulting in the collapse of over 6,000 buildings, with occupants still trapped inside. The current situation has necessitated rescue efforts to the top priority. Consequently, Turkey has deployed about 25,000 people, and additional assistance from other countries is being brought in to help. And now, going by recent data, the devastating impact of the earthquake that occurred in a 350,000 kilometre squared area, affecting 16% of Turkey's population, estimated at 14 million people. UN Development Specialists report that 1.5 million individuals were rendered homeless due to the earthquake. The death toll has been confirmed as 51,800 as of the first day of March 2023, with more than 45,000 fatalities in Turkey. The earthquake, which occurred in 2023, is the most lethal in both countries since the Antioch earthquake in 1822 and in Turkey since the Antioch earthquake in 526. The earthquake is the fifth most deadly disaster of the 21st century, and the most lethal since the 2010 Haiti earthquake. The total cost of the damages caused by the earthquakes is estimated to be $84.1 billion, ranking them as the fourth costliest earthquakes in recorded history. This natural calamity is the deadliest in contemporary Turkey's history. On February the 23rd, 2023, the Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change conducted a thorough examination of the 1.25 million buildings in Turkey, which revealed that 164,000 of them had been seriously damaged or destroyed. Additionally, 150,000 pieces of commercial infrastructure had only suffered minor damage. This catastrophic event caused extensive damage to the built environment and resulted in a significant number of people being displaced. The Turkish government estimated that at least 61,722 structures would need to be demolished, including 11,900 in the provinces of Malatya and 10,900 in Hatay, 10,900 in Kahramanmaraş, and 10,900 in Gaziantep. The earthquake also caused widespread damage to roadways, which were plagued by numerous wide fractures. The recovery efforts were further complicated by the frequent discovery of body parts throughout the ruins. The earthquake that struck Turkey caused severe devastation to the built environment, and the impact on the population was significant. The government's estimate of the number of structures that will need to be torn down suggests that the process of reconstruction and recovery will be a daunting task. The magnitude of the disaster underscores the importance of proactive measures to mitigate the impact of natural disasters and the need for robust infrastructure that can withstand such events. The seismic event took place in proximity to a junction where three tectonic plates converge, namely the African, Arabian, and Anatolian plates. The earthquake's focal mechanism and epicenter conform to the characteristics of either the Dead Sea transform or the East Anatolian fault zone. The movement of Turkey towards the Aegean Sea is facilitated by the East Anatolian fault, while the northward movement of the Arabian Peninsula concerning the African and Eurasia plates is facilitated by the Dead Sea transform. The tectonic plates mentioned now are characterized by their dynamic nature, constantly interacting and colliding with each other. These interactions cause energy to build up, which eventually gets released in the form of an earthquake, resulting in the shaking of the Earth's surface. The triple plate intersection between the African, Arabian, and Anatolian plates is an area of heightened seismic activity, and the occurrence of an earthquake is not uncommon. The Dead Sea transform, also known as the Dead Sea Rift, is a transform fault that runs from the Red Sea in the south to the Taurus Mountains in Turkey in the north. It marks the boundary between the Arabian plate and the Sinai subplate of the African plate. The Dead Sea transform is known to produce significant seismic activity and has been the site of several major earthquakes in the past. The area where the tremors on February 6th took place is generally seismically quiet. Since 1905, there have only been 5 earthquakes of magnitude 6.0 or higher that have happened within 250 kilometers of the February 6th earthquakes in 2005, 1945, 1986, and 1998. The biggest of them, measuring 6.7 in magnitude, happened on January 24, 2020, to the northeast of the initial earthquake on February 6th. The East Anatolian fault is where all of these earthquakes took place, or close by. The epicenter of the earthquake on February 6th was relatively seismically quiet, but previous large and destructive earthquakes had occurred in southern Turkey and northern Syria, although the particular locations and magnitudes of these earthquakes are unknown. Aleppo, the second largest city in Syria, has traditionally been devastated by big earthquakes. The East Anatolian fault is a major strike-slip fault that runs across eastern Turkey. It forms part of the complex network of faults that accommodate the tectonic movement of Turkey towards the west. The fault is capable of producing large earthquakes and has been the site of several destructive earthquakes in the past. The closure of Adana Akçaparsa Airport was necessitated due to damage incurred to its runway. The events leading to the airport's closure were triggered by a catastrophic earthquake which caused widespread destruction in the region. The impact of the earthquake was felt across the province of Adana, resulting in significant damage to several structures. The damage was extensive, and, as per the reports, 12 structures, including a 17-story apartment complex, collapsed entirely. Additionally, 143 other structures suffered from moderate to severe damage. The city of Gaziantep, situated in southeastern Turkey, is home to numerous ancient sites of great cultural and historical significance. Unfortunately, these landmarks, including the Liberation Mosque, Irvani Mosque, and Gaziantep Castle, have suffered significant damage. Furthermore, the town of Nerda experienced a devastating loss of life with approximately 2,500 fatalities, and over 50% of the town either severely damaged or completely destroyed. An additional 30% of the town's building stock sustained minor damages. As a means of burying the majority of the dead, mass graves were constructed. This event led to a situation where only rescue flights were authorized to leave from Gaziantep or Gülzeli Airport. The extent of the damage and loss of life in Gaziantep and Nerda represents a significant tragedy. Around 5,000 people were mass buried in Kahramanmaraş. According to a local official, the mass grave would eventually serve as the final resting place for 10,000 victims. Thereafter, the Interior Ministry verified that 941 structures had completely fallen. Nearly all single-story structures in the village of Ordekdere in the Pazarikik district were completely destroyed. None of the village's 140 homes were structurally sound. In the village, 34 people lost their lives. The first earthquake in Elbistan, Kahramanmaraş province, destroyed 3 structures, and the second earthquake is thought to have destroyed 2,000 buildings. The city saw at least 924 fatalities and 1,825 injuries. In Akınzu, at least 11 people died, 107 homes were demolished, and 70% of the stock of buildings was damaged. The first earthquake in Afsin injured 2 individuals. The second earthquake, which killed 155 people, damaged 43 structures and 40% of the city's residences. The World Heritage Site, Diyarbakir Fortress, recognized by UNESCO, was found to have incurred partial damage. The Hevsel Gardens, another UNESCO-registered site in close proximity, was also affected. Additionally, the edifices surrounding the Pool of Abraham located in Şanlıurfa bore damages as well. Notably, the minaret of the Reverend Holy Shrine suffered a partial collapse, leading to the discharge of rubble into the adjacent swimming pools. The situation was further compounded by the seepage of contaminated sewage water into these pools, leading to their contamination. A large number of casualties and massive economic losses emphasize the need for better preparedness and response mechanisms to manage such natural disasters. It also underlines the importance of investing in earthquake-resistant infrastructure to reduce the loss of lives and property damage. Moreover, the earthquake's effects on the affected populations, including homelessness and displacement, underscores the need for robust support and assistance programs to ensure the affected individuals receive the necessary aid and support to rebuild their lives. Furthermore, despite the ongoing rescue efforts, the harsh winter storm poses an imminent threat to both the survivors and those trapped beneath the rubble. The threat of extremely cold temperatures, blizzards, and heavy snowfall, coupled with already traumatized and weakened individuals, exacerbates the dire humanitarian crisis in the region. The rescue workers' efforts are further hindered by the worsening weather conditions, making it more challenging to reach and provide assistance to those affected by the earthquake. The situation in the region was critical, and rescue efforts should be expedited to minimize the loss of lives and ensure the safety of those affected by the disaster. But it is worth saying that the global community came together to provide the support and resources necessary to mitigate the impact of the earthquake and the winter storm that follows. As the icy grip of winter tightened its hold on Turkey, forcing residents to huddle indoors for warmth, the Mosque of Gaziantep emerged as shining beacons of hope and refuge for those in need. These sacred spaces provided a safe haven for those unable to leave their frigid abodes, offering respite from the bone-chilling cold and a source of comfort in the midst of hardship. Even as the number of displaced people in the Malatya province swelled to a staggering 250,000, the community rallied together to provide aid and support. From the bustling malls and arenas to the bustling community centres and mosques, every inch of available space was utilised to ensure that no one was left out in the cold. But it was not just the people who rose to the challenge. Even the province's vocational schools mobilised to lend their aid. In a true display of resourcefulness and compassion, 24 mobile kitchens were dispatched to the impacted areas, providing nourishing meals and warm sustenance to those in need. Tens of thousands of residents in the area were rendered homeless and subject to a frigid night as a result. To alleviate the distress of the affected populace, the government has decided to establish temporary accommodation facilities in the form of hotels in the cities of Antalya, Alanya, and Mersin. Nevertheless, the government's intervention has been effective in rescuing and evacuating a substantial number of individuals from the disaster zone. The authorities have reported that 1,846 individuals were saved in the province on February the 7th, highlighting the significant and urgent nature of the situation. Turkey is already grappling with economic difficulties, making it particularly vulnerable to further shocks. Additionally, Turkey's military, economy, and politics play an influential role in the region and beyond. Therefore, any challenges faced by Turkey will likely have ripple effects on neighbouring countries and even global affairs. The disaster's long-term consequences are of particular concern to regional analysts who are likely examining how it may exacerbate Turkey's existing issues, such as economic instability, political volatility, and security concerns. They may also be considering how the disaster could affect Turkey's relationships with other nations, including trade partners and geopolitical allies. Furthermore, Turkey is approaching a significant turning point with the presidential election slated for May the 14th, which is expected to have far-reaching implications for the country's populace, economy, currency, and democracy. The outcome of this election is particularly crucial, as it will determine whether the current president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, will retain his position or not. Regardless of the outcome, the election will undoubtedly impact Turkey's political and social landscape. The looming election takes place against a backdrop of several challenges, including the tragic earthquake that shook the country in recent times. The manner in which the incumbent president responds to the aftermath of the disaster and potential calls for accountability on why many structures were not adequately built to withstand such tremors will be critical to his political destiny. Erdogan's handling of this crisis will determine his reputation, both locally and internationally, and could have a significant impact on the election outcome. The significance of the forthcoming election is further underscored by Turkey's position as a regional power and a key player in global politics. As a NATO member and a candidate for EU membership, Turkey plays a critical role in regional security and stability. The election outcome will, therefore, have an impact not only on the country, but also on its relationship with other nations. Moreover, the devastation wrought by the earthquake shook not just the earth, but also the hearts of people across the globe. Moved by compassion, nations and organizations rallied together to bring aid and relief to the victims of the disaster. With a spirit of solidarity and generosity, 105 nations and 16 international organizations pledged their support to the cause, each bringing their own unique expertise and resources to the table. Search and rescue teams with specially trained dogs arrived from all corners of the world, ready to brave the treacherous rubble in a quest to find and save those trapped beneath. Their tireless efforts, fueled by a fierce determination to save lives, brought a glimmer of hope to the darkest of moments. But it wasn't just search and rescue efforts that made a difference. Financial assistance poured in, providing critical resources to help rebuild shattered communities and restore hope to those who had lost everything. Through the collective efforts of so many, a beacon of light emerged from the rubble, shining a path toward a brighter future. And that's all for now. We hope you found our videos informative and thought-provoking. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update from us. And remember, disasters can happen to anyone, but by coming together and sharing knowledge, we can build a safer and more resilient future. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.